ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ।
ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀਓ। ਬਿਲਾਵਲ ਮਹੱਲਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ। ਮਨ ਮੰਦਰ ਤਨ ਵੇਸ ਕਲੰਦਰ, ਘਟ ਹੀ ਤੀਰਥ ਨਾਵਾ। ਏਕ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਮੇਰੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਨ ਬਸਤ ਹੈ, ਬਹੁੜ ਜਨਮ ਨਾ ਆਵਾ। ਮਨ ਬੇਦਿਆ ਦਿਆਲ ਸੇਤੀ, ਮੇਰੀ ਮਾਈ ਕੌਣ ਜਾਣੈ ਪੀਰ ਪਰਾਈ। ਹਮ ਨਾਹੀ ਚਿੰਤ ਪਰਾਈ ਰਹਾਉ। ਅਗੰਮ ਅਗੋਚਰ ਅਲਖ ਅਪਾਰਾ, ਚਿੰਤਾ ਕਰਹੁ ਹਮਾਰੀ। ਜਲ ਥਲ ਮਹੀਲ ਭਰਪੁਰ ਲੀਣਾ, ਘਟ ਘਟ ਜੋਤ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ। ਸਿੱਖ ਮਤ ਸਭ ਬੁੱਧ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ, ਮੰਦਰ ਸ਼ਾਵਾ ਤੇਰੇ। ਤੁਝ ਬਿਨ ਅਵਰ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਹਿਬਾ, ਗੁਣ ਗਾਵਾ ਨਿਤ ਤੇਰੇ। ਜੀ ਜੰਤ ਸਭ ਸਰਣ ਤੁਮਾਰੇ, ਸਰਬ ਚਿੰਤ ਤੁਧ ਪਾਸੇ। ਜੋ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਸੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ, ਇਕ ਨਾਨਕ ਕੀ ਅਰਦਾਸੇ। ਜੀ ਜੰਤ ਸਭ ਸਰਣ ਤੁਮਾਰੀ, ਸਰਬ ਚਿੰਤ ਤੁਧ ਪਾਸੇ। ਜੋ ਤੁਧ ਭਾਵੈ ਸੋਈ ਚੰਗਾ, ਇਕ ਨਾਨਕ ਕੀ ਅਰਦਾਸੇ। Looking through now the last Shabad from the Bani that we know as Shabad Hazare, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji's Bani, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji's Shabad in Bilawal Rag on Ang 795. Out of the 7 Shabads which Shabad Hazare Bani is made up from, this is now the last one, the 7th one. This Bani is said to be put together during the time of Dhan Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Sache Paatshah Sheme Paatshah, during the time of the 6th Guru, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Paatshah Ji's time, this Bani was put together. And also ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ from that time ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਚਲਿਤ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਨਿਤਨੇਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਬਾਣੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਨੀ। So from that time, during the time of Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ, ਉਦੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਬਾਣੀ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ 7 ਸ਼ਬਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਕਰਕੇ, so they collected from different parts of Gurmani and put these 7 shabds together and making this bani that we now today know as the Shabad Hazare. आम करके is often read by the Sikhs. Baba Nand Singh Ji भी संगतां नूं जरूर प्रेरदे. Baba Nand Singh Ji would always give out this message to the Sangat as well, that Japji Sahib de baad, so after reading Japji Sahib, to read this Bani alongside with your Nitnem. And now that we've been going through this Bani, so now the Sangat has a feeling about this Bani, where it's come from, what the Shabads mean. So we should all do uprala as well. We should all make an effort as well. With our Nitnem, that this Bani we start to read as well. And now when we look at this Bani, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji aap kirpa karke, meher karke, apna haath rakh ke, Paatshah Ji Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji, do kirpa on us, put your hand above our head. You help us, Maharaj Ji, to go through this Bani yourself. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji starts off and saying, Man mandar tanves kalandar. Just first looking at this first half of the Pangati, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah saying, Kande man mandir, is saying make your mind into the mandir. Mandir, if we just loosely translate mandir, meaning translating the house of God. That place where people go to worship God, that place where people go to sit inside and remember God, collectively come together and sing the praises of God. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah saying, Kende Sangto, Kende man mandir. Can they make your mind into the mandir, make your mind into the house of God? If we take examples from other parts of Gurbani, there's a whole Shabad that Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji has dedicated to this. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji has dedicated a complete Shabad in getting us to understand and opening our mind up to what an actual mandir is. Within that Shabad, Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah described a mandir in many different ways. First of all, Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji is saying, Kende har mandir eho sarir hai, gyan ratan pargat hoye. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah is saying to us, Kende har mandir eho sarir hai. They're saying over here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah saying that your mind is the mandir, your mind is the house of God. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah saying har mandir eho sarir, referring to this body, is saying your body is also the house of God. And what is going to happen within this body, within this mandir, within the mandir of our body, can the gyan ratan, and they refer to gyan is wisdom, ratan to be something precious, a jewel. Guru Amar Das Ji is saying, can the gyan ratan pargat hoye, can they, what are we supposed to be doing within this mandir? Within the mandir of this body, can the gyan ratan, can then that precious jewel of gyan, of wisdom, gyan ratan pargat hoye, we're going to bring that forward, we're going to manifest that gyan. And then there's a question. Guru Sahib Ji is referring to gyan as a jewel. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji, they said we are to manifest that gyan, to bring it out, to bring it forward within this body. So how is this body then a mandir? Can the gyan ratan pargat hoye? Gyan, what is gyan? Gyan is when we recognize our true self. Gyan is when we recognize, when we realize what we actually are. That man tu jot swarup hai. Apna mool peshan. When Guru Sahib Ji says to us ke man tu jot swarup hai, can they, oh my mind, man tu jot swarup hai. You are the swarup, you are the form, that jot of Vaheguru Ji Akal Purkh. That is what we are going to do within this mandir of this body. And then, if we look at now an outside mandir, let's look at a Gurdwara, the house of God. If Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah is saying that this body is the house of God as well. And kuch Gurdware di, kuch mandir di, jadon aapa jaunge, if we go to the house of God, that people have made into the house of God, uthe koi na koi rehat maryada, uthe koi na koi, there's some sort of maryada that people follow, some form of system that people follow within that house. Hun je aapa aam karke hi dekhiye, if we jadon aapa moti ji misal liye, if we take a normal example of a Gurdwara, of a Guru's house, people are more aware of their actions when we come into the Gurdwara Sahib. Hun dusri gal, in the house of Guru Nanak, in a Gurdwara Sahib, ਪਹਿਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕੋਈ ਮੂੰਹ 'ਚ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਉਹੋ ਜੀ ਕੋਈ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਚੀਜ਼ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਲਿਆਉਂਦਾ. People are very careful of what they will bring into the house of Guru Nanak. What is served, the langar that is served in the Guru's house. This Maharaj ji, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੰਗਰ ਵਰਤਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, people are very cautious about that, ਕਿ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਰਤਾਉਣਾ, ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਰਤਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਵਰਤਾ ਸਕਦੇ. So what can we bring into the house of God? What can we bring into a mandir? What can we bring into a Gurdwara Sahib? ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਸਕਦੇ. When we're in a Gurdwara Sahib, people are very conscious in the way they are speaking. ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਕੁਝ ਲਫ਼ਜ਼, I can use these words and I can't use these words. आम करके if a person has the loose tongue outside in their daily life, जे आम करके जे कोई गाला कढ़दा होवे, if somebody daily swears in their language when they're speaking outside, but when they come into Gurdwara, when they come into the Guru's house, over there they'll be more conscious with the way they speak. उत्थे छेती किते बंदे दे मूंह गाल नहीं निकलदी. People are more alert of their actions when they come into the house of Guru Nanak. उत्थे की कुछ वरताया जांदा, what we can serve here as langar, as food, the way we can speak here, the way we can sit here, the way we can talk here. But then Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji saying to us ke har mandir eho sareer hai. They're saying but this body is a mandir as well. So eda nahi matlab, a lot of people talk about if we take Harmandir Sahib, if we take the Darbar Sahib in Amritsar, if we take that Harida Mandir, everybody will speak and people know kende that 84 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੇਅਦਬੀ ਹੋਈ ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ. People say that Harmandir Sahib was disrespected. ਉੱਥੇ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਚੱਲੀਆਂ ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਉੱਤਰ. And everybody knows that Massa Rangar, he took over Harmandir Sahib Darbar Sahib. He went inside of Harmandir Sahib. And ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਨਾਚ ਵੀ ਕਰਾਏ, ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਵੀ ਪੀਤੀ. That Massa Rangar that went to that Harmandir Sahib, he made women dance inside of there. He watched them dance. He drank alcohol inside of that mandir. And ਉੱਥੇ ਦੋ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੇ, Bhai Sukha Singh, Bhai Mehtab Singh, two great Gursikh warriors, they went, they travelled on their horses, तो ओदा सिर वड़ के लाए Gursikh प्यारेओ, and they took his head off. They chopped his head off. Why? Because of what he was doing in Hari Mandir Sahib, in Waheguru Ji's house, where Guru Granth Sahib Ji Paatshah Ji sits. But Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji saying, कहंदे तुसी भी जागो प्यारेओ, कहंदे हरमंदर एहो शरीर है, कहंदे your body is a हरमंदर as well, is the house of God as well. कहंदे तू ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਆ? What are you doing inside of this mandir? Are we as alert as that? ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਖੜੇ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ, we should as well. If somebody goes to attack the Darbar Sahib, of course we should stand for it. But this is a harmandir as well. Shouldn't we stand up for the beadbi of this body? So ਇਹ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ if there's only certain things we can bring into this Guru's house, then doesn't it mean there should be only certain things that we put into this body? ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ? A person cannot bring alcohol into the Guru's house. ਪਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਹੈ. ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਇਹੋ ਸਰੀਰ, ਇਹ ਸਰੀਰ ਵੀ ਮੰਦਰ ਆ. So ਇੱਥੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੈਦਾ, if we've got to look at now here, that should we be putting alcohol in this body? ਜਿਸ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਮਾਨਸ ਭਰਿਆ ਆਣਿਆ ਮਾਨਸ ਭਰਿਆ ਜਾਏ, ਜਿਤ ਪੀਤੇ ਮਤ ਦੂਰ ਹੋਏ ਬਰਲ ਪਵੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ, ਆਪਣਾ ਪਰਾਇਆ ਨਾ ਪਛਾਣੀ ਖਸਮੋਂ ਧੱਕੇ ਖਾਏ. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah says, कहंदे जित पीते मत दूर होए, by consuming that alcohol, जित पीते मत दूर होए, your intellect departs. अपना पराया ना पछाणी, कहंदे you are not able to recognize तेरा आप दा कौन है, who is your own, ते पराया कौन है and who is not your own. अपना पराया ना पछाणी खसमों धक्के खाए, कहंदे फिर तू धक्के खांदा फिरदा, कहंदे अपने खसम वल्लों. And then you get pushed around by Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji. But then you duck upon yourself. But this sharir, this body is also a mandir as well. So we've got to be careful about what we do. If we're careful in the way we speak when we come into the Guru's house, this is a mandir as well, then shouldn't we be careful of how we speak generally? Karke ye bhi mandir hai. So Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah did then in that same Bani, then they go a step further. As they've said that this body is a mandir, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah is saying this mind is a mandir, you've got to make this mind into a mandir. But then Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah this is कहते हर मंदिर एहो जगत है, गुरबिन घोर अंधार, कहते हर मंदिर एहो जगत है. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah कहते this jagat, this world is a mandir as well. कहते अखा खोल के वेखो. All we need to do, we need to open our eyes and be able to see that. We think that only this is the Guru's house. We think if we go into a house of God. But Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah कहते नहीं, कहते the house of God, कहते the whole world is the house of God. Why? कहते गुरु पातशाह ने अपनों कहना किता आसदी वार दी बाणी दे विच भी, कहते एहो जग सच्चे की है कोठड़ी, ਸੱਚੇ ਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਸ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਗ ਸੱਚੇ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕੋਠੜੀ ਕੋਠੜੀ ਭਾਵ ਕੋਠੜੀ means somewhere where somebody lives ਇੱਕ ਕੋਠਾ ਇੱਕ ਘਰ a house where somebody lives ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਗ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this world ਇਹੋ ਜਗ ਸੱਚੇ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕੋਠੜੀ this world this house this is the house of God this world is ਇਹੋ ਜਗ ਸੱਚੇ ਕੀ ਹੈ ਕੋਠੜੀ ਸੱਚੇ ਕਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਸ ਉਹਦਾ ਵਾਸਾ ਆ within its whole creation ਜੋ ਵੀ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਰੱਬ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਵਸਦਾ ਜੀ so now ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this whole world ਕਹਿੰਦੇ is the house of God so then why do we need these houses of God ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਲੋੜ ਪਈ ਜੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਹੀ ਉਸ ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਹੈ if the whole world is the house of God then why do we need to make this why do we need to make a gurdwara why does somebody need to make a mandir then ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਏ when we look at now we can come back to that point let's look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji Path Ji what they say in the first khand in the first khand in Japji Sahib they will say that ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ ਥਾਪ ਰੱਖੀ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ how does that start ਰਾਤੀ ਰੁਤੀ ਥਿੱਤੀ ਵਾਰ ਪਵਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਅਗਨੀ ਪਾਤਾਲ ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ ਥਾਪ ਰੱਖੀ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ also means ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ also means ਮੰਦਰ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ within this ਧਰਤੀ within this earth ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ ਥਾਪ ਰੱਖੀ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਹੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ ਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ this ਧਰਤੀ this earth is the house of God ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ ਥਾਪ ਰੱਖੀ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ ਹੁਣ now ਇੱਕ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ the whole world is the house of God but then we've got this house of God ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਸੀ if we look back into that ਪੰਕਤੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਰਮੰਦਰ ਇਹੋ ਜਗਤ ਹੈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਗੁਰਬਿਨ ਘੋਰ ਅੰਧਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ but without a guru there's complete and utter darkness without a guru having enlightenment without having wisdom we won't be able to see that we won't be able to recognize that this world is the house of God so we've now had to build houses of God as a training ground the gurdwara and a mandir it will teach us how to live and it will open our mind up to realize that the whole world is the house of God there is nowhere we can escape God ਇੱਥੇ ਇਹ ਭਾਵ ਕੀਤਾ ਆ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਰ ਮੰਦਰ ਮਹਿ ਹਰ ਵਸੇ who lives in a ਹਰ ਮੰਦਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਰ ਮੰਦਰ ਮਹਿ ਹਰ ਵਸੇ ਹਰ ਨਿਰੰਤਰ ਸੋਏ ਸਭ ਨਿਰੰਤਰ ਸੋਏ ਸੋ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਇੱਥੇ in this ਧਰਮਸ਼ਾਲਾ of this world looking further into that ਪੌੜੀ now ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਰਤੀ ਥਾਪ ਰੱਖੀ ਧਰਮਸਾਲ ਤਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੀ ਜੁਗਤ ਕੇ ਰੰਗ ਤਿਨ ਕੇ ਨਾਮ ਅਨੇਕ ਅਨੰਤ what happens here ਕਰਮੀ ਕਰਮੀ ਹੋਏ ਵਿਚਾਰ as we are careful of our actions when we come into this gurdwara trains us it trains us of how to sit it trains us how to come together collectively and do seva as a community how to get on with each other ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਧੋਣੇ ਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੀਵੇਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ people come here ਇੱਥੇ ਜੋੜੇ ਝਾੜਦੀਆਂ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਸੰਗਤ come here and do seva of the jode they clean the jode they clean shoes here which helps them to become humble and low so this is now meant to be a training ground even though ਕਈ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਕੁਝ ਪੁੱਠਾ ਚੱਲ ਪਿਆ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਕਈ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ there's ਬੀਬੀਆਂ that actually fight to wash the dishes so they actually get into fights ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਗਾਲਾਂ ਕੱਢਣ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਸੀ no it was my turn no you've had your turn ਤੇਰੇ 20 ਮਿੰਟ ਸੀ ਤੂੰ 1 ਮਿੰਟ ਉੱਪਰ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਆ so they're ready to get the handbags out and start throwing it at each other ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਗੁਰੂ's house was supposed to be a training ground ਜਿੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਸੀ where we were supposed to come and lose ourselves ਆਪ ਗਵਾਏ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਗਵਾ ਕੇ was to lose and surrender our whole point of that seva was to lose ourselves to lose our ego ਪਰ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਚੱਲ ਪਿਆ ਕਈ ਪਾਸੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਖੈਰ so that was a training ground so ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਥੇ we all realize we know that Guru Granth Sahib Ji Paatshah Ji is Hajar here so we act in a particular way but then this is just a training ground to say when you go out of here don't think any differently. Make sure that you're fighting to wash the dishes at home as well. ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਵੇਲਾ ਹੀ ਲੜਦਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੇਲਾ ਹੀ ਲੜਦਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਂ ਨਾਲ, ਪਰੇ ਹਟ ਜਾ, ਮੈਂ ਧੋਊਂਗਾ ਅੱਜ. But ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਪਿਆਰੋ, this was the training ground. ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੜਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਧੋਣੇ, ਪਰੇ ਹਟ. We're supposed to be doing the same thing at home, not literally fighting at home. But the whole point was to be trained from here and learn how to live. If we're careful about our tongue in the Guru's house, ਇੱਥੇ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਗਲਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਖਦਾ, sometimes I've seen somebody's in Guru Sahib ji's house, Guru Sahib ji's sukhasan ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, Guru Sahib ji goes into rest, somebody speaking, sometimes they'll just slip out a certain word and they'll say, oops, I shouldn't have said that, because they're conscious that मैं Guru दे घर विच हां खड़ा. But Gursikh Pair, remember, this was the training ground. Guru Sahib ji saying, कहंदे अखां खोल, open your eyes, and the Guru will give you that wisdom that this विच धरती थाप रखी धर्मसाल, that this whole world is a धर्मसाल. And what's happening here? Karmi karmi hoi vichar. Everything is being contemplated on by Waheguruji of each and every action. That's why karmi means action here. We say it twice because karmi hoi vichar. There's nothing that is being missed with what we are doing. That doesn't mean if we walk out. This is very simple katha. But why is this katha still needed? Because we see a difference in the way people are in the Guru's house and a difference in the way people are when we leave the Guru's house. No matter how simple this katha is, it's still needed. Because what we see, this way we're supposed to learn and live here, that har mandar eo sareer hai. We're to realize then afterwards that this sareer is a mandir as well. This mind is also a mandir we've got to create and make for God. And then Guru Amar Das ji saying, kende eh jagat sara jagati, kende har mandir is the house of God. Karmi karmi hoye vichar, sacha aap, sacha darbar, that sacha aap, because Waheguru ji lives by the truth, sacha aap, sacha darbar, and then Waheguru ji's quote lives by the truth as well. You know, if we do if we do a galti, if we do something wrong, we get caught by the law. When we go to that court, there's many people in prison today, but they're innocent and they're still in prison. But you know, in God's court, there's nothing that can be missed. You can't get around the system, and if you're innocent, you're not going to get done for it. Because Sacha Aap, Sacha Darbar, his Darbar only goes by the truth, because nothing has been missed. That karmi hoy vichar, every little thing that we have done has been contemplated on. Karmi hoy vichar, Sacha Aap, Sacha Darbar, Tithe Sohan, Panch Parvan, Tithe Sohan. In Waheguruji's court, Tithe Sohan, oh Sone lagde ya. Those people look beautiful. Tithe Sohan, Panch Parvan, those that are accepted, that are Panch. Panch meaning those that have killed the Panch Chor. Panch meaning those that have got the Panch Gun, the Sat Santok Deya Taram, those that are filled with truth, those that are filled with Sat Santok, with contentment. Oh Sone lagde, those people look beautiful in God's court. Tithe Sohan Panch Parvan, Nadri Karam, Kare Nisan, Othe Nishan Pendaya. Nishan means you've got a sign when you go into God's court of Nadar. When God looks at you, Karam, you'll get his bakshish when your actions have been pure. And then Gursikh Pyaro, Uthe ki pata lagda, kach pakai, Uthe pae, Nanak gaya jape jaye. Kach pakai, Uthe pae. Kach, jede kache faults, kach pakai. Pakai means those that are true. It doesn't matter what we say, doesn't matter how good we call ourselves. But asl roop vich, only in God's court are we going to realize who's true and who's false. Guru Nanak Dev Ji kehde Nanak gaya. You know when we say in Punjabi, when we say uthe gaya hi pata lagna hai. I ithe nahi kehde pata lagna. Kehde when you go, then we're going to realize. Nanak gaya jape jaye, then we'll realize. So khair Gursikh Pyaro, coming back, Guru Nanak Dev Ji kehde man mandar tanves kalandar. Again now, man mandar, how do we make our mind into the mandar? How do we make our mind into the house of God? When Gursikh Pyaro, when we hear that God is coming into our mind, then what should we start doing? मन चाओ भया प्रभ आगम सुनिया मन चाओ भया my mind is now ਚਾਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ when somebody is excited ਜਦੋਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ ਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਘਰੇ ਹੁੰਨੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਹੁਣੇ ਆਏ ਹਨ some special guests are coming ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹ ਚੜ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰੇ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਅਮਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਆਨੰਦ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਨ ਚਾਓ ਭਇਆ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਆਗਮ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਪ੍ਰਭੂ ਆਗਮ ਸੁਣਿਆ I've heard that ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ is coming ਇਹਦੀ ਕਥਾ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਡੂੰਘੀ ਹੈ but we're not going to go into that side of it but just looking at how do we make our mind into a ਮੰਦਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਨ ਚਾਓ ਭਇਆ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਆਗਮ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹਰ ਮੰਗਲ ਗਾਓ ਸਖੀ ਹਰ ਮੰਗਲ ਗਾਓ ਸਖੀ ਗ੍ਰਹਿਓ ਮੰਦਰ ਬਣਿਆ that word ਮੰਦਰ has come up again in Nitnem ਹਰ ਮੰਗਲ ਗਾਓ ਸਖੀ who is ਸਖੀ now ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ saying ਕਹਿੰਦੇ hey ਸਖੀਓ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੰਗਲ ਗਾਓ what is ਮੰਗਲ what is singing a ਮੰਗਲ and who is our sakhiya sakhiya can be translated two ways sakhiya are those that are true to us are those that are satsangis that sangat that all comes together collectively and helps each other to connect to the truth Jolo Gursikh Pyaro when we are waiting for Guru Granth Sahib Ji Pacha Ji to come into our house we can look at it in that way when we all sit down the sangat comes together collectively and mangal gao and we sing mangal Mangal means very happy songs. ਉਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਗਾਇਨ ਕਰਨੇ ਇਕੱਠਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਹਮ ਘਰ ਸਾਜਨ ਆਏ ਸਾਚੇ ਮੇਲ ਮਿਲਾਏ that my sacha sajan my true friend is coming into my house and now but this way how do we look at it over here now who is our sakhiya our true satsangi friends our true sisters sakhiya as well can be translated to are our senses How do we sing with our senses? That mangal gao. We sing those songs of happiness now because we know God's coming. How will God come when we start to sing of God's praises with each and every sense? Mangal gao sakhi. Har graho baniya. And then what happens? Kende man chao pya prab agam sunya. Har mangal gao sakhi. Graho mandar baniya. Graho means my house. In this house, the house of my mind, will become the house for Waheguru Ji to come and sit inside. Har Mangal Gao Sakhi, and we get my senses. Each and every sense is singing Waheguru Ji's praise. How does each and every sense sing Waheguru Ji's praise? Jodo apne, when our indriya, when our senses come into sanjam means into control. Jodo e apne vas aa jandiyan. When we're able to get them in our control, when our eyes aren't running wild, looking at things that they're not meant to be looking at. When our ears aren't meant to be listening, when they stop listening to things that they're not meant to be listening to, then our ears, our eyes, the sense of touch, everything, they all come into control. When they come into control, that means they are singing the praises of God. Har mangal gao sakhi greho mandar banaya, and then mandar ban janda. Then our mind in this way man mandar. In this way, our mind becomes the mandar for God to come and sit inside. The fair Guru Sahib Ji can make your mind into the mandar. In that way, by controlling your senses, that's how your senses will be singing the praises of God. Inno sareer no vas vich leke auna ta kehne man mandar din tan ves kalandar and then make your body into a Ves kalandar. What's a ves kalandar? Ves means an outward clothes what somebody wears. Ves bhav hunda somebody that puts on a particular religious clothing, some religious robes. And who are they referring to over here is a kalandar. Kalandar ek firqa hai, ek sadhu, ek apne fakiran da. So fakir is that person. Fakir is somebody that lives very beparwah, very carefree. They don't care for themselves, for their clothes and anything. They don't go out and earn. If something comes by their way, they'll eat. Somebody that just lives very free. That's a fakir. And that fakir, they have a certain type of clothing. That clothing tells the world. That clothing of that fakir tells the world, I am a fakir. So that tells people that I've renounced the world, I've renounced my family, that I don't go out there and earn a living. So that clothes is telling people I live a certain way to come and give me food as well. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji kende I don't want you to have that type of fakiri. I don't want your clothes to tell you, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji saying, I want you to make your tan ves kalandar. I want you to make your body into the ves, into the robes, into the religious robes of a fakir, of a sadhu. And how can we do that? ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੋਚੂਗੇ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਛਾਣ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਸਾਧੂ ਆ ਆਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਭੇਖ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਕੋਈ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਚੋਲਾ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਫਕੀਰ ਦਾ ਕੱਪੜਾ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਫਕੀਰ ਆ somebody will look at somebody the way they're dressed and they say this person is a fakir but Guru Nanak Dev Ji said they said no they said make your body into a fakir they said your body will tell people that you are fakir that you are beparwah that you are carefree that you've risen above attachments how can we do that ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਆਪਣੇ ਤਨ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਫਕੀਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਹੋ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਨਿਮਰਤਾ ਹੋਵੇ that our eyes when somebody walks in and everybody else turns around and looks at that direction because of that beauty but a gursikh's eyes goes down ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਦੱਸਣ ਇਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣ ਇਹ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਆ somebody's feet should tell somebody that they're a gursikh when they don't walk towards that negative society when the anand karj happens in a gurdwara sahib and people then will say ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣਿਓ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਕਹੋਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੇ ਚਲੀਏ and then people will say let's go to the wedding the people don't even refer loads of people they don't even refer to the anand karaj as the wedding they're referring to the party as the wedding so they'll say come on ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਓ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਵਿਆਹ ਖਾਣ ਚੱਲੀਏ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਖਾਣ ਪੀਣ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਮੀਟ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਨੱਚਣ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਟੱਪਣ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਗਾਣੇ where people that listen to those type of songs that are contradictory to the guru's way of life when people go to that place they'll call that ਆਓ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੇ ਚੱਲੀਏ ਆ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਦੇ ਪੈਰ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ when the ਆਨੰਦ ਕਾਰਜ is done and ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਹੱਥ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਦੇਵੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ ਮੇਰੇ ਪੈਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀਆਂ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ you feet when somebody puts their hands together and this is no my feet don't go into that type of place your feet a gursikh's feet should be telling people your tan should be that fakir your body tan means body your feet should be that fakir saying when my feet don't go into that places tell somebody that you are a fakir that you've become beyond these things in life people go fe kai kende tum ta duniyadari chhad ditti that you've given up worldly ways ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਿੱਧਾ ਕਹੀਦਾ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ of sinful wedding ਵਿਆਹ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ when somebody walks around ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੈਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਨ ਮੰਦਰ ਤਨ ਵੇਸ ਕਲੰਦਰ ਘਟ ਹੀ ਤੀਰਥ ਨਾਵਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਘਟ means your heart and ਕਹਿੰਦੇ now Guru Nanak Dev Ji ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ how do you go on these pilgrimages where you go and have these bathes to cleanse yourself because dusre di mattan other people's faiths other people's religions they'll say when you go out on these pilgrimages when you go out and have these bathes and that is cleansing you all your sins are being washed away and Guru Nanak Dev Ji ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ don't be ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਆ ਜਿਓ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ don't fall into that trap Guru Nanak Dev Ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ make ਘਟ ਹੀ ਤੀਰਥ ਨਾਵਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ have that cleansing bath inside of yourself in your gut in your heart and we'll think oh how am I going to wash my heart how am I going to have that cleansing bath inside ਫਿਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਮਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਭਾਉ ਅੰਤਰਗਤ ਤੀਰਥ ਮਲ ਨਾਉ ਮਲ here we mean two things we're going to translate mal here to dirt mal no ਕਹਿੰਦੇ wash your dirt away how are you going to wash your dirt away antargat gat means state ਕਹਿੰਦੇ you've got to reach that state of mind when you start now going inside antar when you start connecting inside how do you do that how do you have a cleansing bath sunaya that's the first thing we've got to do this can be translated again in many ways we'll just look at one simple way sunaya is when we recite God's name when we say Waheguruji's name so if we all sit here and say Waheguru there's some people they've said it with their tongue but then that Waheguru is gone They're not even focusing on what they're saying. The tongue is just empty, saying the word. Har har nit rasna, kahya kachu na jani. That har har nit karhe rasna. Har har nit karhe rasna. That our rasana, our tongue, is saying God's name again and again. Har har nit karhe rasna. But Pacha kende kahya kachu na jani. But you don't even know what you're saying. So we don't even focus on that we've said Waheguruji's name. We've just done it as an empty ritual. Everybody else is saying, so we just sit there empty saying Waheguru's name. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, no, don't say empty. Sunaya. Make sure you yourself are listening to when you're saying Waheguruji's name. Be present to what you are saying. How do you be present to what you are saying? You're actually calling upon Waheguruji. So you're hearing back, you're actually saying Waheguru, you're calling out to Waheguru. And you're present to that. Somebody said, how do we know that Waheguruji, that Guru Sahib Ji is listening to us? And beautifully a Mahaprabhu said, if you are listening to yourself, and then the Guru is listening to you as well. Some people, they start Japji Sahib, and they realize when they've got to Pariye, Mat Papa ke Sang, and they'll think, oh, did I even read Gave ko taan huve kise taan? They can't even remember. They say, main Panch Parvan, Panch Pradhan padhya si? Because we weren't even present to it. We weren't even listening to it. So Mahaprabhu said, how do you know that your Guru is listening to you? How do you know that your Guru is present? Your Guru is present if you've heard it. If you're present, your Guru is present. If you're not present, then aapko ki pata Guru ne sunana hona ke nahi hona. So that's how we cleanse ourselves from inside. This is the stages. Sunaya. First we listen to what we are saying ourselves. Be present to be calling upon God's name. Mannaya. And take it even deeper inside. Mannaya is then the next stage to accepting. Sunaya means to listen. Mannaya means to accept. Accept in your heart that I am calling God's name and God will listen to me. Unu manlo. Manno ke haan, Guru mainu sun raha hai. Waheguru ji mainu sun rahe. Waheguru ji is listening to me. Accept that inside, that one day He will open the doors to me. Sunaya, mannaya, man kita pao, but there's a condition. Within your mind, man kita pao, you've got to have love for what you are saying. Within that word, when you say Waheguru, there's got to be love behind it. When you call upon God with love, and then Waheguruji will open the doors for us. Sunaya, mannaya, man kita pao, antargat teerth mal nao, and this way we'll start to be cleansed and purified inside when we're present to what we are saying. So over here, Guru Sahib Ji is saying, Kat hi teerth nava. If we look at Pariye mat papa ke sang, Pariye mat. If my intellect, if my buddhi, if my thought, everything, par ye mat papa ke sang, if I have made them filthy with paap, with sins, par ye mat papa ke sang, oho to pe nave ke rang. Oho to pe nave ke rang. But what are we to do with that then? How do we cleanse ourselves from inside? Just with na? There's two things here. Oho to pe, how do we clean our mind that has become filthy? Oh, tope means to wash. Nave, just on its own, to say God's name. Nave, no. Nave ke rang. Rang means with love. Rang means with the color of love. When you say God's name, it's that color of love that will take away that blackness inside. That janam ki is man ko mal lagi kala hua sya. That this mind has become like ash from inside because it's collected so many sins. And sometimes we say, why isn't our mind becoming stable? Man, kyun nahi take that? Because we don't know for how many janams we've accumulated so many sins that our mind is racing because our mind is so black inside. But the formulas are there in Gurbani. So in this way, Kat hi teerth nava. And then Guru Sahib Ji is saying the same thing now they tell us in the second line anyway. Then Guru Sahib Ji will say, just like we've just said there, and over here, he'll saying, how do you have that wash? How do you have that cleansing bath inside? They say, Ek sabad mera pran basat hai. बहुत जन्म ना आवा कहते एक शब्द मेरे प्राण बसत है कहते that one शब्द that one name of God ਉਹ ਅਕਾਲ ਪੁਰਖ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ that ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ that connects us to ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ that एक शब्द that one शब्द that one word एक शब्द मेरा प्राण बसत है when it starts to reside in my breath. What does it mean? Guru Sahib ji says in Siddh Gosht as well, they'll say Gurmukh rom rom har dhyaave. This is the Gurmukh with each pore they recite God's name. But what does it mean that God's name goes into your breath? That ek shabd mere pran bast hai, mere prans mean breath, that ek shabd, that one shabd of Vaheguru Ji Akal Purkh has gone into my breath. It means when Vaheguru Ji, when remembering Vaheguru Ji becomes effortless, when it becomes like breathing. That's what it means for Vaheguru Ji's name to go in your breath. Then no matter what you do, you just can't get rid of the thought and remembrance of Vaheguru Ji. Just like when somebody is madly in love with somebody, no matter what they do, they can't get that person out of their mind. Whatever they smell, whatever they do, it reminds them of that person. But this is that place, that state of mind now. That har chauthri lav man sahaj pya har paya Balram jiyo Gurmukh milya subhaye har man tan meetha laya Balram jiyo. It's that fourth state of mind now. When Vaheguru remembrance goes into our breath, and we just can't get rid of that thought. Effortless, without even trying. Vaheguru is present. You see nothing without through the eyes of Vaheguru now. Everywhere you look, you see Vaheguru. You don't see nothing other than Vaheguru. Vaheguru becomes natural to you. You don't have to make an effort to think, to remember of Vaheguru. That's how you start. That's how your inner self gets completely cleansed. That jado apne prana vich Vaheguru Ji di yaad vas jaave. And the other way of looking at this is Shabad also means teaching. How do we start to cleanse ourselves from inside? When ek shabd mere pran basta hai, that with each breath I remember my Guru's teaching. That wherever I go, when I'm challenged, no matter what happens, that I never forget what my Guru has taught me. It becomes natural. You know how to react to people, how to deal with people. When they challenge you, when they're trying to bring your anger out of you, you never forget your Guru's teaching is always at hand, always at breath. That Farida Bureda Palakar Gussa Man na handai Dehi rog na lag gayi Palle sab ke chapaye. That Farida Bureda Palakar. When somebody said, like Guru Amar Das Ji, the first upadesh that gal yaad aa gayi, that first upadesh that Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah Ji gave, they would tell this story of this sadhu. Guru Amar Das Ji would tell this story of this saint. Guru Amar Das Ji in the darbar, they would say, ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਾਧੂ ਸੀ, and somebody would come to this sadhu. Guru Amar Das Ji would tell this story when they first sat on the throne on the Gurgaddi. Guru Amar Das Ji said this person would come to this sadhu, come to this saint. They said that if somebody does bad with you, if somebody does bad to you, then what should you do in return? So this person would ask this sadhu. Guru Amar Das Ji would tell this story again and again. Every day in the beginning they would always tell this story. They said, so this person said, if somebody does bad to you, ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਮਾੜਾ ਕਰੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਨਾ? Guru Amar Das Ji would tell the story. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ the sadhu said, ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੌਖਾ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਭਲਾ ਕਰੋ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ okay. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ so if somebody is doing bad to you, they're saying, this person said to the sadhu said, if someone does bad to you, and the sadhu said, oh, so what you got to do in return is you do good to them. He said, all right. And he says, but how about if they do bad to you again for the second time? And the sadhu said, then you do good to them again. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ but ਤੀਜੀ ਵਾਰੀ, how about if the third time they do something bad to you again? And then the sadhu said, then you do something good to them again for the third time. And the other person, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਕੰਮ ਹੈ? And the other guy says to the sadhu, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ what kind of system is this? He keeps doing bad and we keep doing good. This is how does that work? And the sadhu said, ਉਹ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗਾ sadhu, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਦਾ ਫਲ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਤੇਰੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਦਾ ਫਲ ਮਿਲ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ. And that person, for what they are doing, the bad that they are doing, they're going to obtain the fruits of that. But if you keep doing good, you're going to obtain the fruits of doing good. Guru Amar Das Ji Paatshah would tell this regularly. And over here, we're talking about Ek Sabad Mere Pran Basta Hai, that in my breath, I make it natural, my Guru's Upadesh, that Frida Burida Palakar. When someone's doing bad to me, that I do good for them. Because I recognize that they are stuck in ignorance, and my heart goes out to them to think that they're not able to see the path, the light. And if I could do anything out of compassion to hold their hand and to help them to come out of this. Frida Bureda Palakar, Gussa Man na handai. This is apana kende man nu handai na kende gusse na. Kende then don't take anger, Gussa Man na handai. And then don't take anger within your mind. Why? What will happen? They said if you don't, dehi rog na lag gayi. Kende your body won't be diseased. So then Aithik doctory dasi thodi ji apan nu sade guru ne. I will think how. You know, people talk about every time when somebody says, do a talk about science and Sikhi, and people will say patala patala agas agas. That's the science of Sikhi. No, this is also the science of Sikhi. Guru Bhagat Farid Ji is telling us that if you restrain from becoming angry, your body will remain healthy. But so what's the opposite to that? If constantly we're living in anger, je apna man krodhi hoga, yeda bhav hai apne sharir te bhi fark pauga, then that means our body will be diseased. We'll start to get ill. And we know today, if we look at now science, now look at 25 years ago, 30 years ago, what was one of the things that they came up with? They said it's not actually diet that is probably the biggest cause of heart disease, it's things like anxiety and anger. It's our own emotions that is killing us. Bhagat Farid told us this 700 years ago. They said that gussa marna handai, this is if you restrain from anger, they said you're saving yourself. To apne aap nu bacha rahe hain, tenu bimari nahi lagugi fir cheti kite. Dehi rog na lagi, they said you won't get ill. So if we make our Guru's Shabad, the teaching, upon our breath natural, and then Guru Sikh Pyaro, in this way, our inside will start to get cleansed. Ek sabd mere pran bast hai, bahod janam na ava. When Guru's remembrance, when that word goes into our breath, when Guru's way of life becomes natural for us, with each breath we live with the Guru's way of life, then bahod janam na ava, we won't have to come again and again into that cycle of birth and death. Dwara fe auna nahi pauga janma vich. And then Guru Sahib Ji says, kehne lage, kende man bedya. Bedya means pierced. Kehne lage, what's happened to me? Kende man bedya diyal seti. Kende I've been pierced, my mind's been pierced. Kende with that compassionate Lord. That Lord has pierced my mind. Kende man bedya diyal seti meri mai. Meri mai, they're saying, oh my mother, as an expression. And they said, oh my mother, they said, my mind has now been pierced with that compassionate Vaheguruji. And Guru Sikh Pyaro, and then they turn around and saying that kaun jane, peer palai, this is who could know this pain. Kaun jane. Who could ever know jane, could jane sakda this peer, this pain. You know, when somebody falls in love with the Guru, when you've been pierced by the Guru's words and you've fallen for Guru Nanak, will the world really understand that state of mind that what you experience and that love that you're going through? Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying the same. They said, my mind's been pierced as well. They said, my mind's been pierced with that compassionate Vaheguruji. Kende kaun jane peer parai. Kende who else, who from the world is going to understand this? Guru Ram Das Ji said this as well. Guru Ram Das Ji kende मेरे मन अंतर की पीर कहते हमरी बेदन हर प्रभ जाने कहते but my stay हमरी बेदन means stay कहते हमरी बेदन हर प्रभ जाने कहते only Vaheguru Ji knows my state of mind हमरी बेदन हर प्रभ जाने मेरे मन अंतर की पीर that pain that I'm going through from inside. And Guru Sikh Pyaro, and many people that are sitting here as well today, those that have started to feel that that piercing of the Guru's arrow. And who's starting to feel that today? Only they will know what they're experiencing. People of the world, no matter what you're trying to explain, they just won't understand. Man bedya diyal seti, meri mai, kaun jane peer parai hum nahi, chint parai. But Guru Sahib Ji says hum nahi chint parai. They said, I'm actually not worried. They said, I'm not bothered about what other people think as well. They said, it actually doesn't faze me, it doesn't bother me what other people think. Why? Because if it starts to bother us, then we're not going to be able to walk forward. If we start thinking that what are people going to think about how I start to look, what are people going to start to think, then Guru Sahib Ji says, if I get tangled into all of that, then I'll never be able to move forward. So that's why Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji kehne hum nahi chint parai. That's why they said it doesn't concern me what other people are saying, what other people think. Because that way, if I get stuck into that, then I'm not going to be able to move forward. And Guru Sikh Bhai, we all know here as well that whoever's sitting here today, that when we read those pangtiyan, that Jo to prem khilan ka chao, sir tar tali gali mariyao. These pangtiyan, everybody knows these pangtiyan. Whenever these pangtiyan are read, everybody will be able to follow them. But there's very few that have actually lived them, that is playing that game of love. That Jo to prem khilan ka chao, that inside that have got that chaw, that yearning to play this game of love. Jo to prem khilan ka chao, sir tar. Tar means that somebody that's placed, sir tar tali, on the palm of the hand, sir tar tali. There's very few people that have actually been able to remove their head. Not remove their head physically, but that being able to remove the head of their ego, to surrender to the Guru's way. And then it says, Et marg pair trije. He's saying the same thing here. Et marg pair trije. When I put my feet upon this path, the path of my Guru's way of life, Et marg pair trije, ser dije. I give my head, but kaan na kije. Kaan, but then I don't care for what other people think. I don't care for what other people think. That's what love is. Love isn't when you're being conscious in your mind and you think, well, I don't know what people are going to say if I go down this route. No, that's not love. In love, all questions finish. It's very easy to talk about love. It's very easy to say, oh, this path is about love. And people say that it's all about love. But actually to be in love is a totally different state of mind. When you won't care for anything else. You'll be in that state like Bhagat Naam Dev Ji sang for God. When they said that, Main Bauri, Bhagat Naam Dev Ji said, I'm crazy. Main Bauri, mera Ram Patar. I'm crazy for my husband, Lord. For Ram Patar, for my husband. Raj Rajata ko karo singar. This is, I'll adorn myself for God. I don't care whether people like the way I've become. I'll adorn myself with Sat Santokh Deyatra. Raj Rajata ko karo singar. Gursikh Bhairav, the same way, a Gursikh, they won't care as well. They'll adorn themselves. They'll decorate themselves in the love of their husband Lord. Their husband Lord is Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paatshah Ji. That Main Bauri, they'll say, I've gone crazy now. I've gone mad now in the love of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paatshah. That Main Bauri, mera Ram Patar, that my husband is Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Main Bauri, mera Ram Patar. Rach means when you decorate yourself. Tako karo singar, I'll take that singar, I'll take those ornaments and I'll decorate myself for Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paatshah Ji. I'll wear my kakar, I'll put my karpan on, I'll put my dastar on, I'll put this beautiful crown on. Why? Because this crown is what? This crown is the hands of my Galgitar Paatshah. This crown is the hands of my Mata Sahib Kaur. This isn't just a dastar, this isn't just a pug, what it might be for other people, for what it might be for other faiths. This is actually the hand of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paatshah Ji on my head. Das Tara, the 10 folds of Kalgitar Paatshah Ji on my head. Rach rach tako karo singar. I decorate myself with this beautiful crown. I don't care for the world what they say. Kaun jane peer parai. That man bedya diyal seti meri mai. That man bedya, that my mind's been pierced now by Guru Gobind Singh Ji Pachaji. What do I care for what people say? Man bedya diyal, by my compassionate Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Guru Gobind Singh Ji is always compassionate, will always take care of me. Man bedya diyal seti meri mai. Kaun jane peer parai. Who's gonna know this pain? Who else will know this pain that I'm going through? Only my Guru can. So I'm going to decorate myself for my Guru in my Guru's love, not caring for the world. I'm going to place my foot on this path. I'm not going to care for what people say about me now. So Guru Sikh Pyaro, and over here Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji is talking about that state of mind. If Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying this for Waheguru Ji, then let us say this for Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha, that I'm going to walk towards you, that those people that I'm standing back for, that those same people that shad khadote khine mahi, jinseo laga het, that shad khadote, that moment I close my eyes, that moment death comes to me, shad khadote khine mahi, within an instant, they're not going to be with me. They're not going to be standing beside me anymore. Jit din dehe binsasi tet vehle khesen pret. That day that this body goes, people aren't going to even call us by our name. They're going to say, there's that body. Take that body out of here. Jit din dehe, that day that body perishes. Jit din dehe binsasi tet vehle khesen pret. They're going to call us a pret. They're going to just call us a dead body. So, for those people that won't be for that in that instant, that ain't going to be able to be there with us in that journey jahmat with us, let us not hold back for them. If now we've been struck by our Guru, walk forward, because our Guru is the only one that will remain till the end and hold our hand no matter where we go.
Vaheguru, Vaheguru.